Shall we get started? Yes. Okay, so I officially declare the speaking request box closed, and I officially open tonight's forum. Perhaps shall we take a seat? I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Simon Young from the Faculty of Law, and I'm tonight's moderator. And I want to first welcome everyone. It's really great to see all the alumni, students, staff in this room tonight. I think tonight is a very special evening. It's special because what we're doing is taking place, where we're having this discussion is in a university. And a university is not a street, it's not a shopping mall, it's not a legislature, it's not a church, right? Because what makes the university special is that you can have rational debate, and sometimes very vigorous rational debate. And I'll tell you, in my faculty, sometimes we have some very vigorous debate. But it's all in an atmosphere of calm, mutual respect, and collegiality. And I think for tonight, especially because everyone here really is part of the HKU family, I would expect that this would be the atmosphere that we will have tonight's forum in. Now, of course, in Hong Kong, at HKU, we often talk about learning outcomes. Right? So what is the learning outcome for tonight's evening? Now, look, this is part of an ongoing dialogue on some very, very important issues. Right? We're not going to solve all the problems in Hong Kong tonight. But if every one of us, one, can learn something new tonight, and if you can also gain a better understanding of someone else's perspective, if each and every one of us can satisfy both those conditions, I would say that we're achieving a lot. And I hope that that's the outcome that we can achieve tonight. Now, without further ado, I'm going to move to the rundown, what the format is for tonight. Although this is the President's Forum, we have agreed that the representative from the University Affairs Committee of the Hong Kong U Students' Union will be the first speaker. And if I may also say that it is the Students' Union, the University Affairs Committee, that has initiated tonight's event. And I think it's very appropriate that they have done that, because if you look at the constitution of the Students' Union, one of the aims of the Students' Union is to be a bridge between the university and students for the interests of not just students, but for the interests of the university as a whole and students. And I think that's very important to keep in mind, a very commendable aim. Mr. Wong will speak for 2 minutes, and then our president will give his opening remarks, and then we'll move to the Q&A portion of tonight, the heart of tonight's evening. We have the two boxes. We will combine the two very soon. I will draw 4 pieces of paper at a time, and I'll call all the names for people to come up to the microphone over here. So if there's any particular reason that you are unable to come to the microphone, just let one of our attendants know and we'll bring a microphone to you. But ideally, we'll have everyone here lined up. 2 people will either ask a question or they can make a comment. You don't have to just ask questions. You can make a comment to express your views, because of course we believe in free expression here. Hopefully we can do maybe 4 rounds of that. That's maybe about 16. But I ask everyone to keep their questions or comments short, simply so that we can maximize the discussion. We can hear from more people this evening. And of course, if you go on too long, I will certainly let you know that you're going on too long. And then after our Q&A session, Mr. Wong will then give his closing remarks. and then our president will have the final word. And I have to say that this event is scheduled for 7:30, and we will end at 7:30 because the president has another engagement to attend to. So I ask for everyone's cooperation in trying to keep to the overall time. Okay. So with that introduction, I'm going to now ask Mr. David Wong, right? I'm very proud that he's from our law faculty, to give his opening remarks.
Fellow schoolmates, professors and staff, alumni, ladies and gentlemen. Last Friday night, students, we called for liberating Hong Kong U and protecting our city. But the demon has never been at ease, and its claws were much closer than we had imagined. Around 1 a.m. yesterday, 2 constables, along with an inspector, crept onto our campus, loitering like thieves, sneaking around as if they were spying on us. My fellow schoolmates, how can we liberate our university if we could not even protect it from the reckless invasion and surveillance of the regime? The threat to our university has been nearer than we have expected. I'm glad to see the university has taken up its duty to protect the autonomy of the university and made a clear gesture, such as lodging a complaint. The very fact that the police force provocatively breaching the protocol with the university sends us a clear message that this regime cannot be trusted. Although the police force claimed that similar event is not happening again, I would like to start the forum with the very first question. Professor Zhang, what is your stance about this incident, and what will the university, on your part, prevent such ridiculous events from happening again? The aim of today's forum is about exchanging ideas, sharing, and enhancing the understanding among the university community, so as to ascertain our role in such a complicated social environment and to bring our university back together again. I believe tonight is all about wholehearted discussions. As the discord we are facing right now started by Professor Zhang's statement on the electrical protest, I would also like to invite our Vice-Chancellor to say some comments on your 3rd of July statement, especially after these few days since we visited your lounge. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoy this evening, and I'll pass the time to Professor Zhang.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wong. Okay. This time I'll ask our President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Zhang, to give his opening remarks.
Good evening. You probably immediately see the difference that my friend Devin Wang, he was using an electronic device to read out. I'm using the old-fashioned piece of paper. Just make sure I don't miss anything. But that means that actually reflects there is a generation difference. And this is what this dialogue about. And we are all keen to learn from our young friends and their concerns, aspirations. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our students, staff, alumni coming tonight here. This is early dinner time, and I know because I have a trip, so everybody try to accommodate me. Thank you. And also especially thank Professor Simon Yang to moderate this session. And I know sometimes it's not an easy job for him. So we will make your job easier. On July 3rd, as Devin just mentioned, I issued a statement, short statement, withdrawing some of the criticism from our students and alumni. I understand your concern and frustrations, and I wish to say a few words before we engage the formal discussion. I'm sure you would agree that events occurred in June and July have been happening surprisingly fast. In fact, it's downward spirally downward. Situation is getting worse so quickly. At that time, I was flying back from overseas trip when I saw the news on TV on July 1st. And I was feeling very, very sad, angry, and above all, very worried about our citizens' life. If you think about in a confined environment in an electrical building, if students or protesters are engaged with the policemen in a very small space in the evening, what could happen? I had the true fear, even today, of violence. All my life, I have witnessed many unfortunate confrontations. I know once violence begins, it can easily lead to tragedy. Bloodshed can be point of no return. Violence is never a solution. I personally am against violence of any kind, by any party, at any juncture. I want to tell you, with hands in my heart, the fear of violence is the underlying cause of my immediate reaction. I wanted to remind everyone not to resort to violence. I had no intention to please or to place the blames on anyone. Of course, some of our students, alumni, also concern the university academic freedom. As I said before, academic freedom, freedom of expression, and freedom of assembly are core values of our university. I pledge to uphold these important values. We at Hong Kong U support our students in freely expressing themselves. We care about their safety and the well-being. As the president of this great university, it is my moral obligation to protect our students. I'm also aware that my statement has not eased the tension in Hong Kong. One of the criticisms made by some students, alumni, and others was that my comments lacked a certain empathy for individuals engaging in peaceful demonstration and protests. Looking back, I find this criticism is perhaps fair. My short remarks indeed failed to address frustrations and aspirations of some of our own students and alumni. I'm grateful today and tonight to have this opportunity to listen and to talk to all of you tonight. And this is probably the first time in Hong Kong U, and even in Hong Kong, that we can sit down and start a dialogue since June. We come from different generations and with different political beliefs, maybe. But we can sit together in this gorgeous Luke Yu Hall, a historical building. Today we have about 600 students, alumni, staff, and friends here. And our media friends on the back. The whole Hong Kong is watching us. I really hope this kind of frank and direct conversation can start not only in Hong Kong U, but also at every corner of our society. We are never afraid of contrasting views. We treasure and celebrate diversity, diverse views and diverse people in Hong Kong and in Hong Kong U. I hope this type of dialogue may help all people in Hong Kong, including the government, to listen to each other, especially the true voice of our youth and Hong Kong people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Zhang. At this point now, we're going to move straight to the Q&A. We're going to mix up all the pieces of paper that we have here. That's not going to work. This is terrible.
Can I come up? This is the science.
Okay, I'm just going to randomly pull 4 out. All right, if you hear your name, please come to the front here and line up to ask your question or make your comment. The first person is Winnie Chan, who is a government and law student, class of 2020, year 5. Second person is Ivan Mack, BBA, class of 2015. I believe is that 15 or 19? Ivan Mack. Next person is John Lan, MBBS 2019. Next person is Stephen Koo Bok Kim, Bachelor's of Social Science and Government and Laws. All right. 4 individuals, please make your way up here so you can make your statement. Where's Winnie Chan? Oh, you're there. Oh, I see. Okay, I see. Please come forward, Winnie.
Thank you. So, Professor Zhang, I would like to ask, although you have repeatedly said that we don't want any violence, but we all know that violence somehow is like unavoidable these days. So I would like to ask if one day, really, our Hong Kong youth students who maybe just joined a protest in Admiralty or Central, and they were chased after by police officers, and they ran all the way back to Hong Kong U, and the police officers are chasing behind them. Would you allow the students to find a safe place in Hong Kong U, and would you allow the police officer to enter Hong Kong U to search them? Thank you.
Okay, so Professor John, you could just wait a moment. The next person is Ivan Mack.
Thank you, Professor John. I'm class of 2015.
15.
And soon be 2022. And you have said that in your email dated in July the 3rd, saying that your intention is not to place any blame or to please anyone, and you condemn the destructive act, then I assume you are against any kind of violence. So, to sound fair, would you also condemn the brutality and the use of excessive force by the police? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Two questions.
Professor Zhang.
So first question first. Thank you for this very important question. I'm sure many of our students are concerned, and definitely I'm concerned that too. Now, as far as the students, assuming, hypothetically, some student participates in the protest and running back to the campus and so on. University, for many years, we have a protocol, as many of you know that. And when the policemen actually enter the campus, they have to get consent from our university security office or forces. So that has to be in place. Without that, we cannot let anybody enter the campus. Now, that actually, in fact, happens yesterday. Some of you know that there was an incident that policemen, in the early hours of morning, came into the campus for, in the public space, of course, not private space. But it's still, that didn't alert our security force. We lodged immediately in the early morning, the first task in our office, we lodged a complaint to the police office, and they made apology for that. So there is a clear protocol in the university, and we follow that strictly. Now, for the second question about the police, in terms of violence, and I think many students are concerned, if there's violence, I condemn in the July 1st event, storming of the electrical building. What about on the street, that policemen also have, using certain forces, right? Now, I understand that there's, of course, observations and arguments from both sides, who used forces first and so on. I think actually the investigation will tell the truth, and that will eventually history and investigation will, clear who made, whether the policeman made excessive force. Now, if that's the case, of course, they should be condemned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Next person, John Lan.
Yes, I'm fresh graduate from Faculty of Medicine. I'm sorry, I'm John Lau, not Lam.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, say some comments and also questions. So, the comment is that when we know about 5 years ago in the Umbrella Revolution, how well our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Matheson, and also that from CUHK, the Professor Joseph Song, how well have they protected our students from bringing the brutality from police? So I would like to ask questions for Professor Zhang at this moment. So what is your view of the freedom of academic? So I would like you to explicitly to further explain and also tell us about what is your view on the academic freedom. And also, will you try and also strive to protect the freedom and also the rights of students? And will you try to protect our students from the brutality from police, regardless of our cultural and also political background? Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, Stephen Koo.
Good evening, Mr. Zhang. Two very short questions. First, in your statement issued on the 3rd of July, you said that you encouraged every party to participate in a constructive dialogue. But wouldn't you agree that a constructive dialogue is impossible because this undemocratic government is not accountable to the people? It decided not to respond to the people's peaceful demonstrations and peaceful demands. Wouldn't you agree that we do not have the democratic means or elections to throw the officials out from power, and therefore it's impossible to have a constructive dialogue if the officials, the government, has all the power? Second, you said that you condemned all kinds of violence, but wouldn't you agree that the murderous, abusive acts committed by the police officers, committed with bullets and tear gas, and there's a huge difference between the acts done by the police and the disobedient acts done by the protesters? Wouldn't you agree that this should attract different levels of scrutiny and criticisms? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Professor Zhang.
So there are three questions now. Let me remind, the first question is about, well, let me actually answer your question first because, so your first question is about the government in the power and whether it is legitimate act to, through the government.
Whether you can have constructive dialogue, whether you can have constructive, whether you can have constructive dialogue, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let me answer that. Again, I'm not a politician. I'm a scholar, lead this university. First of all, let me actually clarify my role here in the university. As a leader in the university, of course, like everybody else here, we are entitled to freely express ourselves. But however, my role in the university is to provide an environment that people has the freedom to express, to assemble, and to hold academic freedom, to study anything you want to study. Right? Now, therefore, to maintain that environment, I will come back to that point, maybe some other question. To have a freely express yourself is very important. And my role is maintain that platform, not to guide you one way or the other. Okay. But secondly, come back to your point. Regarding that, whether there's possibility of a dialogue with government. And some of you, and students especially, some of you may believe the government is not by one person, one vote, right? Therefore, it's not legitimate. That's, some of you hold that view. But of course, I respect that view. And we can debate one way or the other. But even in US president is not by popular vote, by the way, if you checked the record, okay? Some president not win the majority vote and become president. So let me come back to, so now these are political and legal issues that I will refer to our expert in political science or legal aspects. But in general, nevertheless, I still hold the view that violence is not the solution. We have to keep conversations, keep dialogue, because we see so many frightening events in other countries and so on that leads nowhere. And honestly speaking, if you ask me today, my fear on July 1st, whether I still have that fear, I have to tell you, probably it's enhanced fear. Because last 2 weeks, we see more and more events. And we see the blood already. And that is very worrisome. Okay. To some point, when you reach to that point of low return, that's all the tragedies and things happen. And we see that before. I know our young friends here, they may not experience some of things here in Hong Kong, but some older generations, your teachers here probably see 1970s or 67s and other events happening in Hong Kong. And also in US and elsewhere too. So we do want to, really ask our students to look for a more constructive way to have a conversation like today. We may not agree, honestly speaking, but I think we should agree on disagree. Your second point, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Lau's question was about your views on academic freedom.
Okay, and as my early statement, academic freedom is very, very important. Many people ask me why Hong Kong is so successful in terms of, society. It's very vibrant. We have a great economy for many years. And this is the reason we have a freedom. That freedom actually enable our students in this great university and many other universities in territory to enjoy the way of thinking out of box, the creativity that drives our economy, our progressiveness of the society. That's how the Hong Kong has been thriving over decades. So I think this is very important, and at the university, we hold this very dearly. Thank you. The first question I forgot now. I think there's the other early question.
I think we've probably covered them all.
Okay.
We'll probably get some more first. Okay, so another 4. Zhang Yi, Bachelor of Science, Actuary, class of 2016, an alumni. Stephen Chan Chit Kwai, staff member in the Estates Office. Mr. Chan. I think it's Yilan Wen Chen, who's in the 3rd year of the PhD program. Is it Yilan Wen Chen? And Chai Jinja, Bachelor of Science 2019. Chai Jinja, Bachelor of Science 2019. Could you 4 please come up? All right, let's begin with Mr. Zhang Yi. Please come to the microphone.
Hi, everyone. I think
Maybe speak closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I think I have a mixed feeling today and for the past few weeks. And I first want to say a comment. A comment that I hope we don't, lose hope for Hong Kong. We hope we still have trust in Hong Kong, and I hope there will be leaders, and we can have discussions so that we can come out of this kind of situation. And I hope there's brighter future in Hong Kong. And I think we have many discussions today on how the university will maybe support the freedom of the speech that people can express their views. I have a question that, because we also see that there's someone, maybe very minor people in the university, maybe use this freedom of speech to abusively say they say bad words to other people just because they hold a different view from them. So I want to ask, maybe after all these things is over, will the university establish, say, the systems that can protect the students so that, from this kind of violence? I see this, maybe this is a different kind of violence. Yeah. So maybe I want to know is there any plan in the university to protect the students so that we can still learn new things from this very good university?
All right, so protection from abusive freedom of expression. Thank you. Mr. Chan?
President Zhang, Professor Yang, students and staff, I'm Stephen Chan, the staff of the Essays Office, who have worked in the university over 40 years. Since I met Professor Zhang, in the first time I spoken to you with Putonghua, so I keep on the dialogue in Putonghua. It's because I just prepared.
It would be better if you could speak English. I think it'd be better so everyone
Speak
could
English, probably.
because that's the medium that we're using today.
But I was told I can speak in Putonghua before.
Maybe. Yeah.
Is it?
I think it's better if you use English. That's the language we're using today. Yeah. All right. It's better if you use English, please.
But why I was told I can use Putonghua before.
Okay.
So, because I just have two minutes, can I sit
I think it's better if you use English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to.
All right.
Okay, I can.
Okay, let's hear from Mr. Chan now.
Yeah, I accept your suggestions. What I want to tell Professor Zhang is I support the statements of violence. We condemn violence because especially in Hong Kong, a well-known international school, which is very well recognized in the public order and law. So for those violence to ruin the reputation of Hong Kong, we agree people have a right to public speech, but including everybody, of course, including presidents, students, and presidents. We should protect the right of speech, free of speech, so nobody can object it. So I always agree to have a demonstration, a very peaceful demonstration. They have a right to express their objection or different views on the government, and the administration of the governments. But all these expressions should be, according to the law of Hong Kong. So last word I want to emphasize is dialogue is our way to solve the conflicts at the moment of time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Professor Zhang,
Yeah.
you want to answer the first question, which is
About
No, we can have comments actually. People have a short amount of time here. They can make a comment. They can express themselves. They can ask a question. So that was admissible. That statement was admissible. Professor Zhang.
All right. I guess the early question was about the academic freedom and also our expression, and also related to what probably some of us see on campus recently, especially probably after my July 3rd statement that there's a lot of foreign language displayed across the campus. First of all, I think academic freedom or academic expression do not include those hate expressions. I want to make it loud and clear. Okay? And you can express your view, but it doesn't make that legitimate. You can make a hate speech or use a foreign language to demoralize others. And when I saw that, it's very sad. No, I didn't tell anybody, but it's very sad. I've been lived through my life over 50 years, and I never see any place use such a very strong, massive language towards individuals and others. So I want to remind everybody, freedom of speech doesn't mean you can speak anything, because if you make a hurtful and hate speech in other countries, Western countries, there's legal consequences as well. So, but however, let me come back to that. Let me share you with one small story and how hard that condensated in my heart, in my friend's heart. I was a grad student back almost 30 years ago in Berkeley. And it was a great university, but just one class. We enjoy everything else there. Just one class. There was an instructor, wonderful teacher. And he was distributing homework back to the students. And one of my friend, he said, Leo Kai, well, Kai is the last name. Leo is the first name. He was a Chinese. He's still Chinese. He was with that attitude. The whole class laughed. I was so feel bad about it. That person became a senior professor later on and so on. At one point, I came back to Berkeley after years, become a professor. And he and I, that professor, older professor, become my friend, actually. I never mentioned to him about this incident. But at one point, he said, well, Xiang, remember your classmate, Neil, now is a big CEO in a major company in Asia. We should go to him for fundraising. I said, look, I don't want to go there. And I can't tell you the reasons I don't want to go there with you. Now, of course, the senior professor already passed away and so on. Now, I want to share with you how this little instance, even make a simple comments, make feel people are discriminated, sad. That is not good for anybody. So let's work together. Not to say we are the same people, but even we are different people in this great university. We treasure the diversity. Have you thought about a beautiful painting with different colors? Why? The colors makes difference, makes the vibrance. If you have a single color, now there are some paintings of, classical or something may use a black and white color. But there's much more freedom in multiple colors, you agree, right? So we have to treasure different views, different people, different colors of skin, and let's make a great community in Hong Kong U and Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Yun Wen Chen.
Thank you, everyone. I think if we want to come into some consensus, it needs a long time to communicate, and especially to listen the opposite views. I saw my friends are debating on Facebook, but it looks like internet is not a good place to debate. It polarizes views at most time. So I don't know if it's possible for existing organizations to organize some offline face-to-face discussion and or provide such channel and platform for students, for those students who want to talk and also want to listen, to communicate, to exchange their views and information. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I also want to say that I talk it in English, and I want to say that there are two languages legitimate. One is Cantonese and one is English. And actually, at most of time, I prefer to speak in Cantonese. 因為我覺得廣東話其實都係中文嘅一種，所以我覺得大家都係中國人，咁我願意用廣東話同你講。
Okay, thank you, Mr. All right, Mr. Chai.
Sure. Hello, I'm a year 2 undergraduate student and I'm from science faculty. And today I know that maybe our president and our students may do not have the same opinion. And so I don't want to say that whether the violence is right or wrong, but I think during the whole social movement, it's not proper to say who is perfectly right and who is definitely wrong. And I'm sure that no matter whether the violence is right or wrong, people do not like violence. But now that the violence has happened, what we should focus on today is to know the reasons behind the violence. And I think it's also the case in our campus. So before the statement of president was posted, if our president could listen to more students' opinion, if we had an opportunity to express our own opinion like today's forum before the statement, would the surroundings in the campus be better? Or can we find a better solution to the whole problem? Maybe I think the answer is correct. So I'm really hoping that today's forum is not an ending point. It should be a starting point. As a top international university, we really need more opportunities to communicate, especially during some difficult time. So I'm asking our president, do you have some proposed strategies always in the future so that we can communicate with each other? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
In fact, actually, I appreciate both questions. I think these two questions are in the same line about communication, how we exchange the views. Absolutely, I agree with you, both of you. We need to more dialogue, more exchange of ideas. Now, I have to say that looking at our students using their Facebook, and I'm behind, honestly speaking. I need to catch up. Even my own son, my son is at the college as well. They use the Facebook and Instagram much more efficient than I use emails. So definitely we need more communications. Honestly speaking, last summer, this marks my first day of second year. I just finished the first year yesterday. And I've been visiting 10 faculties, meet with many thousands of students, staff, professors. And I just began last semester from January on. Start the next level of visit of faculties. Oh, I'm sorry, the faculty I visit departments. I visit 3 departments, and this fall I have 5 to line up already. But I also realized that I engage the student, especially our undergrad students, most through hall activities or college. I go there, high table dinners and events or celebration of something. Maybe this is not enough. And in fact, I'm planning this fall to enhance our exchange of ideas, especially bring our local student and our non-local student together. So I propose each semester, I'm going to host a lunch or dinner at my lodge with, large crowd of, students, maybe 50 or 60 of them. And we, of course, it's not 500, then we cannot talk. So that way, I hope actually not only enable me to talk to our students, but also our local and non-local students can exchange ideas and so on. That is very, very essential, I want to tell you. When I was in US as a grad student, and I remember, now I don't remember his name now, there was a Hong Kong student, my sort of classmate, and he actually has a rice cooker, actually. He used it when he graduated, he was early graduate, he left to me, and he freely gave to me, and we become friends, actually, even before that. And I used that for 5 or 6 years, even after graduate study. It's a very, very deep feeling about friendship that I built with this student from Hong Kong. And later on, of course, when I become professor, I have 3 students from Hong Kong, and one of them now professor in UST, the other actually in the other university here in Hong Kong. So it's a friendship, it's a bond that can bring us together. There's a lot of things more than just whether you speak Cantonese or Putonghua or English. At the human being level, we have much more in common. Now I understand it's more convenient to speak, your friend in Cantonese or in Putonghua and so on. But we need to break these barriers and talk to each other and build a friendship. So I agree with the 2 students proposed, and I think we need to do more. And I think actually I will work with our Dean of Students to look at the way whether it's simply going to high table dinners, that very traditional British tradition that sits there, give a speech, and sit with maybe a group of 6 or 10 people. That's all. But maybe there's some way we can, do more different types of engagement and exchange of ideas. Thank you.
Now, Professor Zhang, the second student asked something very specific, which is whether you might, in future, consult students before issuing a statement, especially if it is particularly sensitive.
Now, of course, if you ask that statement, indeed, I consult with my senior leadership, so-called SMT, you probably heard about. In the SMT meeting, I have an extensive discussion with my colleagues there, whether or not we should issue a statement and whether we should condemn the violence. And the conclusion of that meeting is yes. Now, of course, I can consult with 2,000 of our academic or administrative staff and 30,000 students as well. But we have to also be mindful that university leaders has to make a decision, not have to collect 30,000 votes or something to make a statement. So I don't think that's a practical, but I think engagement with our community, maybe in the other way.
But it could just be a few student representatives. Maybe it's a small group that you could consult from time to time.
Right. I think from time to time, I think one of the things we should do more, I agree with you, that we should open more dialogue to listen to students, what they are thinking, what is their aspiration, concerns, frustrations. And I think definitely I need to do more. And last year, my first year, I thought I did a lot of high tables and things, but maybe different types of engagement. And I meet with student union leaders as well a couple of times, but that's probably not enough. I need to go to more grassroots level to understand what is our average student thinking and how we can help and understand.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we continue, if I could just appeal to